Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Our public schools require students to get vaccines to protect against measles, mumps, Hep B, diphtheria, chickenpox, polio. What's the difference with requiring COVID vaccines once they get full FDA approval and that kids under 12 become eligible for it, which we know is coming and hopefully coming soon?
You know, that very well may be the case. And I think the reason, one of the most important reasons you don't have a requirement is because even though we know the vaccines are highly effective and safe, they are not yet fully approved with a BLA. Even though it's under emergency use authorization, we feel pretty confident that they are highly effective and safe. But you have to be very careful about mandating in the school for the children until you get that full approval. But I believe it will be very actively considered. I can't give a prediction of what's going to happen, but I think it will be actively considered that this might come under the category of the other infections that you mentioned, the polio, the measles, the mumps, rubella. Can't say that that will happen, but certainly it's going to be discussed.
The Delta variant skyrocketed in India, then it let up. It took off in Great Britain, then it seemed to have receded. Did they do something we've missed to get it on the run, or does the virus just naturally dissipate for whatever reason, let up after having us on the ropes?
You know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Delta variant, but there's one thing we can predict is that if we get more and more people vaccinated, that is the best way to counter any variant at all. The situation in the UK is that they have, as a population, more people vaccinated than us. That could have contributed to it. It could have contributed to they had more people who were actually infected. And the combination of infected and vaccinated made the circumstance such that it turned around the dynamics of the outbreak.
We now have guidance on booster shots for those who got the 2-shot Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. Where does it leave those who got the J&J 1-shot vaccine with respect to when or if they should get a booster?
Yeah, certainly it's going to look like the people who got the J&J 1-shot will need a booster. The FDA right now is looking at data from a number of studies and getting a recommendation that will almost certainly come through the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices that advises the CDC to advise when and with what type of a boost the J&J people will get. But it should be noted that they started the vaccination for J&J a few months after the mRNA vaccine. So they still have time to get to the point to get it right about what kinds of boosters they would have and what the program of the cadence of those boosters should be.
For parents who want to keep their kids enrolled in their schools, the option for virtual learning is gone. Kids under 12 cannot get vaccinated yet. They're in school with no social distancing. Masks are optional in most of them, as the far more contagious Delta variant just keeps doing its thing. So what more can parents do short of withdrawing their kids from school to keep them as safe as they possibly can when they go to school under those circumstances?
Yeah. I know it's a very complicated situation, but I believe if one listens to what you can do optimally to get the children physically in the class to avoid the deleterious consequences of having them out of physical presence, all the mental health and social development issues that we have, you surround the children with people who are eligible to be vaccinated and get vaccinated. That means the teachers and the personnel in the school. The children who are eligible to be vaccinated, 12 and older, we should get them and encourage them to get vaccinated. And for the unvaccinated, the way you protect them, you get the situation such that there's universal mask wearing in the school. And I know that's difficult sometimes to implement, but that is the optimal way.
With respect to masks, would you recommend parents buy KN95 mask in lieu of the standard variety, white and blue, we've all come accustomed to? And what else can they possibly do?
You know what I think they should do? Just wear a mask, any qualified mask. I think when you start, picking this one versus that one, people get confused. I would just say, wear a mask, surgical mask, cloth mask. You want to wear an N95, that's fine. Sometimes N95s are more difficult to tolerate for the kids. That's one of the reasons why you don't get that full recommendation.
The governor cites a Brown University study, which he interprets as supporting his belief that mask requirements do not reduce the risk of COVID in Florida public schools. Is that interpretation correct?
I'm not going to get back and forth with a tit for tat with the governor. The only thing I'm going to say is if you go to the CDC website, there are ample references to studies showing the beneficial effect of masks in preventing acquisition and transmission.
One of the claims we're repeatedly hearing is that people who recover from COVID have long-lasting immunity without a vaccine.
Well, certainly there is a degree of protection against reinfection, but we know from a number of studies that if you are infected, recover, and get vaccinated, your degree of protection goes very, very high. Whereas if you are infected, recover, you get an attenuation of protection that leaves you vulnerable again to reinfection, particularly in the context of the Delta variant.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. Good to be with you.